Welcome to the RPO Football Show. I'm your host, Steve Hungarter. You guys know me on Twitter as the IDP Hunter. I'm a writer and an analyst over at the Fancy Six Pack in the RPO Network, as well as an ECR ranker. Today's show, we're going to talk about rookie IDP battles. Specifically, we're looking at rookies that can crack into the lineup, make a big impact day one, but they're up against a couple veterans. So rookie versus veterans, rookie IDP position battles. I can't do this podcast alone. I brought my sidekick. You know what? I brought my Batman and my Robin. Actually, we're not Robins. We got Batman and Batman. I don't know which Batman you are, Mase. If you want to be Michael Keaton, or if you want to be Christian Bale, if you want to be the new kid, we can talk about Batman too. But you got two Batmans today. You're getting this at the low price. Free. Absolutely two Batmans. We're going to discuss IDPO, RPO, everything IDP-related football. What's going on, Mase?
Yeah, what's going on, man? As far as I'm concerned, Christian Bale is Batman to me.
Oh, we're going to fight about that.
Christopher Nolan's trilogy is great. I mean, I wish Heath Ledger would have stuck around, for another one. RIP to him, but great Joker. But yeah, Christian Bale.
I'm just happy you didn't say Ben Affleck. That's what I'm happy about. But yeah, Keaton was my heart, my soul growing up. Batman '89, but Tim Burton, his idea of the movie kind of screwed it all up for me. I'll tell you what doesn't screw it up to me. RPO is doing this promotion right now, man, aren't they? They're doing all the rookie rankings, all their dynasty rankings for free. I don't know any other network that does that. It's ridiculous. I don't know anybody. I don't know how Leo's over here making money, to be honest. It's all given away free to the audience. Plus, he's got the number 4 IDP ranker myself. He's got you're cracked in the top 10, and Leo himself has been doing it for 2 years in a row at number 1. So you got all these great rankers, you got all these great rankings, and you got all these great articles. You've been writing some articles yourself over here, correct?
Yeah, I've just kind of been dabbling into the rookie profiles. I still got a couple more to finish. I'm also working on redraft rankings too right now, just for your actual drafts, because that is coming up right around the corner. And we're here today to talk about some camp battles and some stuff that I've been noticing and that you've been noticing, Steve, throughout the process, and just things that we're kind of foaming at the mouth to see as content creators, so that we can comment on it and get our viewers in the right direction.
Before Mase goes into his bat belt and brings out his shark repellent, and his batarang, and all his other bat gas, what have you, he's ready to go. You can tell I'm kind of screwing around a bit. Let me tell you about Mase for the audience that doesn't know him. And honestly, quite frankly, I don't know how you know him. Not only is he over here in the RPO Network, he's formerly of the Fancy Six Pack, formerly of IDP Army, formerly of IDP Guys. You've been in this space a long time, my friend. How long have you been doing this now?
So I tried to do offensive content around when COVID happened, and I didn't start IDP until like 2021, dude. So I haven't really been actually doing it for that long.
And in the ECR rankings, you're always a top guy over there.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of just was asking the right questions, poked around, got my head in the game, and then just stayed with it. Not perfect, but I'm also kind of like a big wave ranker. I like a conspiracy theorist. I kind of go with my gut, you know a little bit about that. So just kind of being in the right place in the right time, being a nice person, and just trying to pay it forward to everyone around me, man. This space has been extremely gracious.
And I'm sure heck yeah. And I'm sure most people know Mase, at Cali King 49. He's been on my show. He's been on other shows. You're all over the map, my friend. Very accredited. Of the articles you put together, they're always well-depth, profound, and plus you're always a top ranker. I don't know, do you have any secret sauce for the audience? How do you put these thoughts together? You said we're both conspiracists. We kind of put our notes, I got my notebook here, kind of put them down at the middle of the night. What is it that you actually do to kind of inspire yourself to put these articles together?
I just like challenging myself, and I guess the norm. Just because you want something to happen in ranking, or like you think it's going to, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Also, if you can get 63 to like 68% of the rankings right that you're doing, I feel like you're really on the right track. Like there's so much data and things that we don't know about, especially I do some scouting too. I do the Shrine Bowl. So kind of just seeing not all the way on the other side of that process, right? Some of that other process.
I'd be interested in that next year.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into this. And even if you could have a guy like we're going to talk about in a minute maybe not fit for one defense, but on another defense, he's going to skyrocket and get a ton of points. But it all just depends on concept. So there's so much more that goes into this.
So the floor is yours, my friend, because I know with the Shrine Bowl, you going down there and seeing those guys in person. I mean, that's probably a huge killer advantage. What are some of the rookies that you're looking for that you think are going to like pop off and kind of beat the depth chart, beat their ADP, beat their position, and just win these camp battles?
Yeah, so I'll just go with like my biggest draft surprise. It's a combination of players at the linebacker position. As we know, linebackers kind of not taking a dive as far as like productivity goes or anything, but as far as like draft capital, aside from Jack Campbell these past couple of years, there hasn't really been like that number one guy, right? Aside from like, I think Devin Lloyd a couple of years back was like one of the last first round guys to kind of go. So I'm looking at Payton Wilson, the former NC State linebacker. He's now on the Steelers. He's going to be going up against Landon Roberts and Cole Holcomb. Cole Holcomb is in a 3-year deal. I think he's in the heart of it, but he's coming off an injury from last year. Patrick Queen is assumed to be the linebacker one there. Landon Roberts was the second highest scoring linebacker, I believe, there, aside from TJ Watt, who was for some reason scored as a linebacker on Fantasy Pros. He only had like 600 snaps, but he was still highly efficient, at least for IDP. Maybe not so much more real life football. But Payton Wilson had a lot of medical questions coming out of the draft. He is the biggest, I think, athlete out of the class. There's not like anything that he can't do. Maybe he's not overly amazing in coverage, but he's still athletic enough to put himself in a position to be effective. And if he's out of position, he can get back in position. Really good at second and third chance tackles. The only problem is he's missing the ACL, I think. But I don't really know if that, like, you have more information on that, right? To a previous podcast. If you want.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I've had a couple doctors on, not just this year, but last year. He's probably going to be a one contract guy, but he's going to get run. I mean, you've seen the highlight film on him. He's a pounder. I mean, he's making great one-arm tackles. That's the pro. The con is he's getting injured, mostly in them one-arm tackles. So, take the good, take the bad. Remember the old TV show, The Facts of Life? You take the good, you take the bad. That's what we're doing with him. But, yeah, he's a diamond in the rough. He's one queen injury away from being the guy, and he can wear the green dot.
Yeah, so that kind of takes me to my next point. So the linebacker that went before him was Marist Liufau, who I think had like a 4th, 5th round grade on him. He went a little bit. I thought the Cowboys were going to go with Payton Wilson. I was actually on the phone, or I was texting my buddy Bo, and he's a diehard Cowboys fan, and he's like, "Oh, it's coming." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you guys are going to get him. Congrats." And then he texts me like, "What the F, dude, blah, 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 blah. They didn't get Payton Wilson." So Marist Liufau, he's in a good position, but he didn't do anything stellar like throughout his career. Like, he wasn't like a big tackle guy. I guess he did pressure the quarterback a lot. I think he had like 25, 29 pressures last season. So that's kind of good to see, but he did have some missed tackles in the heart of the season last year.
Yeah.
So there is room for developing, I feel like, with him. And that's not something that I feel like the Cowboys are in a position for, because they had a lot of questions at linebacker last year. They had to bring down former undrafted player Marquise Bell, who's a safety. They had him playing linebacker sometimes. Great cheat code last year, man. I love that guy. So he's got to go. Marist Liufau has to go up against Damone Clark, Damari, and Overshone, who was thought that was going to get the keys last year, but then was injured in preseason, missed the entire year. So there's a lot of question marks there. Thoughts on those two guys?
Yeah. So with old dude, I can't spell his name of the Cowboys. You're right. Like I said, he was always on our top 10 linebacker rankings. He's always been a guy we're looking at. The biggest thing that jumped out to me, and the reason I was kind of punting him, is the missed tackles. With the Vikings, you got Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer, he has a very noticeable kind of defensive scheme. He runs what you call a split mug front, which is basically he'll put linebackers in spots between a center and a guard, and just even if they don't blitz, he attempts to blitz so he can get value out of other players. Do you know? So like your Bells, your this, your that, your whatever. He's got a lot of people. And we don't know how it's going to play out till the preseason. But this guy was highly drafted. The Cowboys need players, man. A lot of people just left. Van Der Esch just left. Kendricks is older. Kendricks knows the scheme. He's a former All-Pro with Zimmer. But I wouldn't count out these rookies being an instant right now. So, yeah, to your point, I think he's going to be at least a 2-down player. He's going to have a role, and it's going to be between him and Overshone. What has Overshone showed us yet? Nothing. He's coming off an injury. These injuries can be flaky with players. So I kind of like those. I like those picks that you have there.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because I think the Cowboys are kind of doing the opposite of what a lot of teams are doing. Like they'll stack their front seven and then just let the back guys kind of fall where they may. The Cowboys have a gang of guys on the outside with Bland, who was, that pick god last year, really helped a lot of people in fantasy leagues with cornerbacks in true position. And then Trayvon Diggs, the man that's kind of just been forgotten because he's coming off injury too, right? So they've got dogs out there. They've got a gang of safeties. They've got safeties who now have linebacker experience that are just sitting on the bench waiting to play. Like their back end is really, really good, which kind of takes me to my next.
And you know what's good?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, what's good about him? When you look at like the top 5, linebacker 6, 7, he's kind of like an afterthought. Those are the deals that I like. I like to get those bargain guys later on round. So I think that's smart. Who's your next guy, Mase?
Defensive end Marshawn Kneeland out of Western Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
He is not even on the ECR, I'm pretty sure. Hold on.
I looked the other day, and half of them aren't on there. Yeah.
There's him, Mo Camara out of Miami.
I like him better than your other two, to be honest.
So he's going up against DeMarcus Lawrence and Sam Williams. Obviously, he's not going to get Parsons' spot. Parsons is going to be out there as much as they can have him out there. He's 6'3", 275. Maybe they want to put a little weight on him. I'm not really sure. I know that last year, I think they drafted not Mozzie Smith. Was it Mozzie Smith or Ajabo? I think it was
Mozzie Smith went to the Cowboys.
Yeah, but then they made him cut a bunch of weight, and then he didn't really do his thing. So, I don't know what the Cowboys defensive line or strength and training room is going to do with him. So, kind of keep that in mind. But he improved every season, and I guess my biggest worry is that he's going to have to develop because he's from Western Michigan, and he might not have went up against as much premier talent as maybe some of the other guys that were drafted, but he does have that high draft capital, at least enough to show you that he will probably end up being a rotational player.
He was one of our top 40 prospects, like from day one. You know what I mean? And he was one of the top defensive linemen. I believe that was a Senior Bowl scout for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, he's a guy you could easily use, and you can easily rotate in. He dominated at Western Michigan in the Senior Bowl. That's what it was. That's what I do remember him. But he was one of our favorite players when we were scouting, and he lands with the Cowboys, which the Cowboys need a lot of moving parts. I think when we profiled him, he was like a gap shooting edge rusher, and that's exactly what the Cowboys are going to need. He could do other things. He can win anywhere, any assignment that you give him. You can even play him over nose tackle if you really needed to. But yeah, Kneeland is a guy that can go anywhere, fill any need, and that's what they're going to need because the Cowboys are in salary cap hell right now and they're in transition. So I like all those picks. I have a guy in here I want to throw.
Yeah.
When we were doing these rookie linebacker rankings, and I think we had the Coopers, you had the Wilsons, you had the people had Trotters. They had a bunch of guys in that top 4 or 5 space. When you get to 5 or 6, and these are kind of the places that I like to feed on because I like to stack up on DL and maybe get one of the linebacker 5 or 6s. I'm looking at a player here. His landing spot was phenomenal, and the name is Cedrick Gray. Okay, Cedrick Gray goes to the Titans. Last year, the Titans were horrid at just fielding a roster. They had over 30 players starting on their defense at some point or another, 30 different players. So he's going to a place that they need him. Cedrick Gray was a 6'3", 235-pound tackling machine. In college, he had 200 tackles in 2 years, which to me is a big deal. So did Wilson. I think those are the two that I was tracking. But yeah, he in 2022 he had 146 tackles. Then the following year he had 121 on 880 stops. So he had 80 solos, which is what I'm looking for, especially if you're getting 2 points of solo. But with Cedrick Gray, when you look at his lineup, what he has to go through, Kenneth Murray doesn't really strike the fear into anyone's hearts, right? He had an okay year last year because he kind of had to. He was on the field, right? But for him to beat out Cedric Murray, Arden Keene, Jack Gibbons, I'm not afraid of any of these guys. Right now, he's not really looked at in the ADP. I just did a draft where he wasn't even drafted as a rookie, and you picked him up in our draft. So I'll let you talk about Gray a little bit. But I see a lot of things happening. I see him day one success put right in the spot. I possibly see him as a green dot day one, and I'm not the only one. I'm not the only overreaction. The Titan Newswire, like 2 days ago, they were reporting that they're seeing that role for him. And again, there isn't nothing but airspace and opportunity. What do you think about Cedrick Gray?
Yeah, no, I think I kind of saw the rumors of the green dot, and honestly, with IDP, man, especially nowadays with a linebacker, and we're only really seeing like those premier edge rusher guys or like a stud defensive tackle who maybe won't be so great for IDP, but will be good for real life football. We're seeing some of these linebackers and guys fall back so far that it's really just about their landing position, right? So you can like rank 5 guys in the first tier, I think 4 or 5 like I had. But that all changes up immediately after the draft because now we're looking, all right, maybe Payton Wilson isn't my number 1 because he might not get the extreme opportunity that someone like Junior Colston is, who we're probably going to talk about in a minute, right?
Oh,
or,
yeah.
Or like Gray, like you're talking about. So
yeah,
Gray could get the green dot, and then Kenneth Murray actually might be more effective as a Bravo guy, as a wild head of rusher, a guy that can kind of just get out in space because he is athletic. Maybe that is his sweet spot. Maybe they can kind of Azir Al-Shair's career and kind of do something there. And I feel like that's what they're going for. So you get the young guy to come in, and if he fails, then okay, he's young. It is what it is. But what do you want me to put Kenneth Murray there? Like what? You want me to put Jack Gibbons there? Like what do you Otis, or what is he? Yeah, Otis Reese the fourth. You want me to put him there?
Who are these people?
Yeah. So no, it's just extreme opportunity
money somewhere. Oh, who is that guy? I never heard of him. Since you revealed the card, we can go to Junior Colston next, and I'll give you the floor. But how's that for a strategy? If you go 5-6 linebackers deep, let your friends take Edge Cooper. You go ahead and take these other guys. You know, and I know linebackers are 3 down airspace opportunity. You want the odd shit out of these guys. What were you going to say, Mase?
No, I was going to say there's one more, just kind of a shout. I don't know if he's going to make the roster, but he might. James Williams, he was a safety from Miami next to Kinchins. Uh-huh. He's huge, man. He's like 6'4", 6'5", right? Big body guy. They actually moved him to linebacker, and that's what he was drafted as in the 7th round of these guys. So he's another guy that's kind of in the mix for maybe not a rotational role, but maybe they put him in on special teams. Maybe he kind of finds his way to the field. God forbid injuries happening or anything. But the Titans, I feel like they kind of have pieces on their offense to where they kind of know where they're going. So they're going to start attacking their defense next. So maybe they start to rotate in some guys, try to figure out really what they have going forward.
We were tracking James Williams. We were tracking him as an honorable mention, like outside the top 10 at DB. Yeah. But yeah, at linebacker, that's kind of interesting. So I'm kind of glad you brought that up. You want to go to Junior Colston next, since he's a guy that we're both looking at here out of Michigan?
Yeah, for sure. So national championship.
Yeah.
Defensive team captain. I mean, and then you get your coach as well.
Jim Harbaugh, maybe.
Yeah. A little dash of that, so you already know the culture, you already know everything that's going down. And then you have a former 3rd-round pick and Damian Henley. Yeah. Sorry. Henley. And then you have paper shoulder Denzel Perryman in front of you.
So with on that note too, Mase, Perryman, right? He did show out years ago with this team, but that was a different team. He was a lot younger in the tooth. Last year, he had a little bit with the Texans. He's probably your guy to start the year, but I think Colston's going to challenge him quick. Not only does he have the college background, the pedigree, Colston's one of the best off-ball linebackers in the entire country. He led Michigan with the 95 tackles and the 4.6% tackle rate. He's a tackle machine ready to happen. Eventually, he's taking his green dot. And again, like I was saying, it's all about value. These are LB5 or 6s in the draft class. Let somebody else take. Yeah. And isn't this linebacker class a little bit suspect to begin with? But these are strong candidates, are they not?
Yeah, I think from a scouting perspective, you had so many other guys at like wide receiver, even running back is devalued. A lot of those guys are actually really, really good, right? So, I'm not really sure. It just really comes down to, at least in this case, how fast can Colston pick up the dot at the NFL level? If he can get it, like if he's doing okay in camp, I honestly would think as a coach, you would just want to, you're rebuilding the program, right? Except for like Herbie and maybe a couple pieces on the offensive side. And then you got Derwin James and then some other guys there, but you're really trying to rebuild everything. So why not put that guy in the forefront and do it? And then Perriman has been known to get injured and get out. So kind of have him in a rotational role. So you only really need him for 8 games and you can get the best effort for him anyways, right? Like, he's probably got something in his contract or something incentive wise for games and stuff, but if he's popping off at a big rate, that's just going to help the team more. That's a really stacked, high offensive tempoed division. I guess maybe not just the Chiefs now. I was thinking because they got the Raiders and the Broncos, and they're not really known for offense. So never mind. I scratched that.
The only caveat I have is Henley did in the preseason last year. He had 2 games. He won green dye. He was okay. But they never really used him in a regular season. So what the heck, man? Here you go. You're bringing this guy with a higher pedigree. I think he has a potential like Gray to overtake that backfield. So that's an excellent one. Who else do you got here, Mase?
Just a quick couple shouts here, I guess. We said Junior Colston. The Seattle linebacker room. You want to talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Okay, so as of right now, you got Terrell Dodson, who came over from Buffalo, and he's kind of breaking through and trying to, I think, solidify himself as a potential starter in the league for a couple of years to come, right? He's kind of just been the treachery, or if not Delta concept in Buffalo for a couple of years now. Jerome Baker coming over from Miami has never really been amazing, hasn't ever been horrible, more like LB2, LB3, I guess, spot week LB2, like bye week guy. I think he was injured for like 4 or 5 games last year, though. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do with him. They drafted Tyrice Knight.
Love that name. And he always gets forgotten about. Heck, I wouldn't even have brought him up. So thank you for bringing him up. He gets buried in these drafts and people forget. And he was extremely good in college. So good for you picking that one out. New coach Mike McDonald, he loves his DLs and his linebackers, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about this in another episode, 1, 2, 3, 4 different undrafted linebackers who they have on the roster right now. So, they're all going to be battling for a spot.
Back to what you were saying with Knight. Knight's a 6'1", 233-pound linebacker. He ran a 4.6 combine. That's going to get you on the field, right? He ranked 8th fastest among the linebacker core. Plus, he had in college, he racked up 386 tackles. Going back to this position, okay? Dotson's supposed to be the guy ahead of him, right? Yeah. Dotson PFF loves. He's got like a 90-plus rating. He's in the green. My only concern with Dotson is if you were so good, why'd you get benched multiple times last year with the Bills? They couldn't figure it out. Yeah. So the rubber's going to hit the road on that. We're going to figure it out. You are spot on 100%, 110%. That's why you're the Batman. I'm just Dick Grayson. I'm just Robin over here.
He's got a nice tool belt, man. That's all.
I'm Tim Drake. I'm just throwing the batter. I got the staff. I don't even get all the cool stuff like you do. The Jerome Baker analysis was spot on. Jerome Baker, he's a better like pass rusher edge guy than being like the Mike, being the box linebacker. He got so many times. His tackle percentage, I think we had this talk before, his tackle percentage was extremely high. When Fangio wanted to run his Fangio 7, Fangio 8, everybody back, he couldn't hold the job up. He couldn't hold the job up as a true linebacker. So I'm already nixing him off my list. He might be a good LB2, like you said. He's gone. Dotson's the only guy there from Knight taking over this role, and that's what Knight does. Knight is there to win that job. That's an excellent punt in deeper leagues, and I'm telling you, in most of the drafts we've done, he is getting overlooked. Again, this linebacker core, I've said a couple harsh things. It's nice if you can spot the value as you're going, but I'm not going to probably invest my first pick in it. I'll probably go after these DLs. There's a lot of nice DLs with different positions. But this linebacker core, you could, if you're paying attention to depth charts and how we view IDP, we're looking for 3-down linebackers, looking for starters. He's your guy. So, yeah, I do like that. That was an excellent one, Mase.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, just 2 more really quick, but we don't even really have to dive into them. I just want to spin them all. Okay, Tommy Eichenberg for Vegas against Divine Diablo. I think Spillane's still going to be the number 1 guy there. I think Eichenberg, the plan is for him to sit back, kind of watch, understand the system, be a rotational guy. But if someone gets injured or something, that's a name to watch. And then my last one is Cleveland, Nathaniel Watson. He was drafted in the 6th round. They have JOK, who I presume is going to be their starting Jordan Hicks as well. But they do use that the other linebacker, and it's Devin Bush. I'm not sure how long he's going to hold on to that role. So they have Mohamed Diabate and Tony Fields as well. Tony Fields has been there for a while. I don't really think he's going to gain any ground. So I think it could be a prime opportunity for Nathaniel Watson to at least get on the field and learn some stuff. So deep sleeper there if you want to cast a line out.
Heck yeah. I'm going to go at the defensive team. They drafted some rookies. They got crap about their quarterback that they took the first round, but they got some value here. I'm just looking at their depth chart real quick. The Falcons got guys that could jump in day one. You got a guy named Brandon Dorless, who was always on our top 10 DL bubble. You got a guy named Rook. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. It sounds like Scooby-Doo. Right? You got Bralen Trice with the big-time name, which I'm going to kind of talk a sec here. I mean, he was like top 5, 6 once all the other DLs, the name guys, the Chop Robinson stuff come off the board. And then you got a linebacker, JD Burchard. I mean, again, how smart is that? They're picking up players. You got players in front of them that don't really impress me, and you got older players like Grady Jarrett, and then you got question mark players like Troy Anderson, but it's not feasible that, a guy can overtake, I don't know. Who the hell's this name here? David Onimatu. He was a waiver wire pick. Zach Harrison. A lot of these guys will probably come out of nowhere. So if you're in a deep enough league, the Brandon Dorses, the Rook, Scooby-Doo, Aurora, those guys right there, they can make yourself some money. But I'll tell you, you were at the Senior Bowl. You remember what Trice did, right?
No, I didn't. He wasn't largely on my radar, but the second that he got drafted, I'm like, okay. Because the Falcons didn't add anyone in free agency, right? They're one of the few teams that, at least defensively, they didn't. They tampered with Kirk Cousins and then drafted offensive quarterback with the 7th pick, which I still can't get over. But yeah,
so Trice was profiled as a strong run defender. That's what he was profiled as. He was one of the better edges in the class at setting the edge. He had like 70 total pressures. They switched him around a lot, but anyway, he achieved like 51 QB pressures, 17 QB hits, 7 sacks last season. He was the guy that they weren't sure, like, is he going to play on this team or that team? So they kind of moved him around a little bit. Yeah. But he can play the edge. He can set the edge. He can play the inside, outside, whatever. I am excited about Trice when all the big boys come off the board. The Latus, I can't think. Yeah, the Turners, the Verses, the Chop Robinsons. When those guys come off the board and everybody's kind of scratching their head, those are the players I look at. The difference between a Trice, he doesn't have anybody in front of him really to contend with. Same thing with these linebackers we mentioned. It's all about airspace and opportunity.
Hold on real quick about the Falcons. I think it's going to be a very we're going to figure out what the direction of this defense is going to be. They've kind of just been adding pieces, but not really any like solidification as far as leadership goes, right? Like they still have the same guys. They got Jesse Bates that's probably leading the backfield with AJ Terrell. Lorenzo Carter on the outside that's in front of Trice. But like you said, Ellis, how much longer is he going to be there? Is this Troy Anderson's last shot? Is this his real shot? How many games is he going to get? There's Nate Landman's still there. He could kind of get put in the mix. So I think this is more of like a buyer beware for redraft.
Nice.
If you want to invest in a guy in Dynasty, then no, for sure. Like you were saying, a lot of, Trice or JD Bertrand, go ahead and pick those guys up, put them on your taxi squad if you have one, and then reap the benefits maybe next year when they actually get that starting opportunity. Because I think the Falcons are just trying to figure out of these 3 guys, Ellis, Anderson, and Landman, who's really going to be sticking, who's going to be gone, what's going to be going on. There wasn't
I
enough
like those names though, Mase.
No, yeah, they're nice, but it was more of like solidifying their line. But even then, Ruco and then Brandon Dorless are still sitting behind Zach Harrison, David Amignata, Grady Jarrett, Arnold Ekabe. Oh my God, dude, that name always gets me, man.
And that's a good thing, though. Like 32 team leagues, I'm gonna dynasty stash these guys, but I'm not gonna do it in my 2.
No. If you only have 2 DL spots,
so anybody else on your list? I think we covered them all, didn't we?
Yeah, that's all I got for this one, man.
Okay, that's good. Tune in next week, sports fans, when we go over more in-depth details. We got a couple things here. We're going to talk about those undrafted free agents that may crack lineups. He's Batman. I'm Robin. Okay. Batman, tell everybody where they can find you. Tell everybody what you're up to. Tell everybody what you're working on. And appreciate you coming on the show.
You can find me wherever vengeance is needed. Just turn on the light. No, I'm kidding. You can find. I'm a ranker and a writer at RPO Football, man. I do some things on Fantasy Pros as well. A little spot content, rankings, and then I appear on shows. Hopefully, I appear on this show a lot more. Like I said, I got rankings coming out for redraft. We have rankings for Dynasty. We have rookie rankings. We have a Discord. Hit me up on Twitter or X, if that's what you want to call it, at CALIKING49ER17. IDP Hunter, Steve, my good friend, man. Thank you for having me on your baby. I appreciate you.
Thank you for putting great content out in this universe. We're going to help clean up this industry of all the toxic people that are out there listening and probably copying the show. Just remember, sports fans, Mase is the hero that Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs. We're signing out. We'll see you next week. Bye.